future, that they've got some serious problems to resolve. And it's really kind of sad to think about. Actually, looking at those kids yesterday, it brought a little bit of a tear to my eye because I have a young child who's 2 years old, and it made me think about the future that we're handing off to them and preparing them for, and all these problems that they're going to have to resolve. And so I am hopeful, though. After coming, I see those people there, and they're passionate about saving the springs, and the few people that spoke in favor of the standards. I think what I realized is that there's people that love Florida, love our natural resources, are willing to stand up for it. And I think that if we keep pushing, and you folks join us out there in this effort, we can protect our springs, we can protect the St. Johns River, and we can have a sustainable source of groundwater in the future.
And one thing, and as we move into the legislative session, one of the focuses of that spring rally, Senator Constantine, who lives in a district that has a lot of springs, he is pushing forward yet again with a springs protection bill. And hopefully, Jimmy, people in this part of the state can, as we move forward, and we'll keep you posted on this show, we will need to contact our legislators and explain to them why should we in Northeast Florida care about spring health. And hopefully, I'm hopeful this year we will see a springs protection bill finally come out of the legislature.
Well, and you mentioned earlier near the Springs rally, and there was that was, I guess, last Friday. There was a hearing. There's a committee called the Senate Select Committee on Florida's Inland Waters that Senator Constantine chairs.
Yes.
And there was a hearing. So they're traveling around the state and letting the public tell them what they want to see in terms of legislation to protect our waterways and our springs. And Senator Thrasher came. He attended that meeting because it was the closest hearing they're going to have to Jacksonville, and it's in his district. And I want to also commend Senator Thrasher because he's committed to us and he's committed to the public that he's going to continue to carry that torch that Jim King carried for the river. And he really seems engaged and ready to lead the charge in protecting it. So if any of you out there, pick up the phone and contact Senator Thrasher and say thank you and encourage him to continue on and to stand strong for the St. Johns River, because he, like I said, he's made that pledge that he's going to be a champion for the St. Johns River, and we need to give him the support he needs to carry through with that. So,
and I think what was very encouraging about that hearing, Jimmy, was a week ago or so, just one of those days you don't want to get out of bed. It was pouring down rain, and over 100 people, many of which drove from out of town to Palatka to testify, if you will, before that committee. And I want to thank all the folks, many of which came from Jacksonville. There were people came from Gainesville, Ocala, who traveled great distances. We work with a group in the southern part of the state called United Waterfowlers. It's a group that works, they're duck hunters, but they do a lot of great work on habitat and water quality. There was a gentleman, John Hitchcock, who Jimmy and I have been communicating with literally for 2 years. John is working on the nutrient issue, trying to get phosphorus taken out of fertilizer. For those watching, Florida is blessed with an abundance of phosphorus in our soil. There's absolutely no reason for you, if you're thinking about buying a bag of fertilizer, make sure the middle number is 0. You do not need phosphorus. But John came all the way up from Brevard County to testify. And that's the kind of dedication I think that we are blessed in our jobs to see. I mean, somebody who left very, very early to drive all the way from South Florida just to say, we support what not only the Riverkeeper is doing, but protecting our resources.
Right. Well, while the hearing about the EPA nutrient standards and what we heard at the Springs rally could be a little bit depressing, frankly, seeing how some folks are working against, I think, our best interest and the river's best interest, it was also just as empowering and motivating to see the folks in Palatka at that Inland Waters Committee meeting, because one, all the people that spoke so eloquently and so passionately about protecting the river, but also the senators. Senator Constantine, He is clearly committed to the springs. Right. Senator Dockery,
yes,
she spoke very passionately about protecting,
Senator Thrasher,
and was one of the authors of Florida Forever.
Right.
And then Senator Thrasher,
right.
He spoke, and I bumped into him yesterday in Tallahassee when we were walking, and he told me, he said, I think I've took more notes at that meeting than at any meeting I've taken in a long time, because he said people were making such good points.
Right.
I had to write them down.
Right.
And so I do think that there's some reason to be optimistic.
Oh, absolutely, Jimmy. I think that, like I said, in the course of a week, we have seen so much happen. A Senate hearing up in our area, people traveling from across the state to go to Tallahassee. People will be in Orlando and West Palm. And again, I think just seeing the young people at that Springs rally gives us all hope. And it, lets us know we've got to keep pushing forward.
Right. Now we have just a few minutes, Neil. I want to mention something real quick, so I make sure I get it in, and we'll talk about something else. But in March, in the Jacksonville area, Mayor John Payton is issuing a proclamation declaring March St. John's River Month. This is the third year in a row he's done that. There's going to be a series of events. I encourage you to go to our website. We're going to have all kinds of ways you can get involved. We've got a boat trip. We do a 2-hour boat trip that's coming up at the beginning of the month. We actually, on March 3rd, have our river luncheon. First time we've ever done this at the Hyatt. That's going to be a really, I think it'll be a good time. We're going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. But we're also going to have a dynamic, really great speaker, author, Cynthia Barnett, who wrote the book Mirage about our water problem that we're experiencing in the Southeast. She's going to be speaking about that. You'll be speaking. We also have the Riverside Arts Market is River Day at Ram.
Oh, great.
And we're going to have all kinds of river-related activities going on, including boat trips at that, at that event. There's just going to be all kinds of things going on.
We were talking earlier about the river celebration at Walter Jones Park.
That we've been doing. I think this might be the 4th or 5th year we've been doing that.
Yeah, that's a great time for
great
the family.
Event. So there's all kinds of wonderful events. Actually, we spoke about John Moran. In April, John Moran's going to be doing a presentation and showing his beautiful photography
we'll talk
at an event we're
that.
doing with the Native Plant Society at MOSH, at the Museum of Science and History in April. So there's all kinds of incredible events coming up that you can come out to and learn more about the river, have fun, celebrate the river. I want to also mention, speaking about celebrating the river, is we've talked about it on our show here before, our guidebook, the Get Your Feet Wet guidebook. The weather's getting ready to turn. This is the perfect time to get out there, get one of these guidebooks, and get out there and explore the river and get to know it, because the guidebook has all kinds of parks and wonderful places to visit, to experience the river, and as I like to say, get to know the St. John's. So, get ready to put your hiking shoes on and get out there and explore.
Get out there and enjoy all the stuff
or jump on one of our boat trips and get out there and experience it from the waterway itself. Real quick, Neil, I think we just got like a minute, but I'm going to hold this up. This is actually the folio this week, the water hogs issue, and you might want to get it, but there's water supply issues coming up, and this is all interrelated.
Right.
We're going to be experiencing, we have 1 minute left, so can you just kind of give us a brief overview?
We'll talk more about it. There's something called the Water Supply Plan that's being drafted as we speak that will, in effect, lay out the future of our water supply for the next 5 years, and we'll talk more as the shows progress in the spring, Jimmy. We are facing the same kind of problems that we kind of assigned to Central Florida, and we know that our water consumption is harming not only adjacent rivers and streams, but even the groundwater aquifer.
Well, and as you mentioned, Neil, Central Florida, it was us against them before. They were going to take water out of our river and still planning to do it. Well, now there's talks about taking water out of Black Creek, out of the St. Mary. So it's come home.
It's come home.
We're going to have to deal with these same issues in the future, and we'll talk about that on a future show, Neil. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Go to our website, learn more, come out to an event and get involved. We need your help. We depend on you for your support. Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next month.